Content creation on the devices that I already own. That is what I do on this channel. I base it around gaming because that is where many people want to get into content creation from. Heck, it's where I wanted to get into content creation from. But when I started, I didn't have a PC. And I still don't. Whenever I've looked around for help, every single guide that I have come across, whether on YouTube or across the rest of the internet, has been overly focused on PC, whether live stream or editing. Even now in 2022, when there are hundreds of videos across YouTube asking the question on if you can replace your PC or laptop with a phone or tablet, to which the answer is mostly yes, there are still very few guides to creating positive edited content on anything that isn't PC. But as you can see from this intro, I have found a way to create 4K 60 frames per second content on my Android phone and tablet, with similar and sometimes better results than PC. Whether editing PlayStation captured content, downloaded live stream content, recorded video content, photos, screenshots or captures, or any other video or still format, I have been able to edit that footage on my Android devices. In this video, I am going to show you the app that I use to do this, and some of the basics of how to use it, and some of the Pro subscription offerings. So, without further ado, and a sting card following this, made entirely within the app that we are talking about today, my name is Doragon, and this is my guide on how to use Kinemaster. What is Kinemaster? Kinemaster is a video editing application. They call themselves mobile editing software, with the app available on Android, iOS, iPadOS and Chrome OS only. Kinemaster can import MP4 format files and then edit that footage in any way that its powerful tools will let you. From blending scenes to chroma keys, transitions to colour correction, Kinemaster offers a comprehensive suite of tools to allow you to edit and export video in up to 4K 60 FPS. It has a two-tier offering, with the free option allowing access to a limited library of additional editing items, such as overlays and music, and allows full HD exports at 30 frames per second with a watermark. The Pro subscription, at £3.19 a month, grants access to a huge library of copyright-free animations, music and effects, along with experimental settings such as importing higher resolution and frame rate video, unlimited video layers, and more. Additionally, the premium option allows for the removal of the Kinemaster watermark, a big boon for many content creators. It can be downloaded from the Kinemaster website or the appropriate mobile application store. How to edit with Kinemaster. Kinemaster accesses files on your internal memory, SD card, or even an external storage option, be that an SD card reader or external hard drive if the format is correct. Using these files, you build a project ready for exporting. To get started, from the home screen of the app, click or tap on Create New. Once done, you are greeted with a new screen where you can choose the aspect ratio, how you want stills to be imported into the project, the length in seconds that a photo automatically appears for in the timeline, and how long you want transitions to last for. These can all be adjusted after the project is started as well. However, if you have a design for the video you are creating in mind before starting, it's nice to have this laid out prior to starting to save time and effort in the edit itself. If you scroll back to the very top, you can name your new project. This is for ease of return should you need to exit the app and take a break in editing, and will be the name of the exported file at the end of the process. Once all options are chosen, press Next in the top right corner to start the editing process. I'm going to edit the intro to this video for you, so that you can see some of the tools and my personal techniques in action. The design and feeling of the edit, that is for you to decide, and I would recommend having this plan in place before starting an edit, as it makes life so much easier for you. My plan for this one is a simple edit to show you basic tools of this application. So cutting clips down, stitching clips together, layers for overlays and effects, that sort of thing. So let's get started. Having filmed the on-camera section for the start of this video, I'm going to place the unedited version on the timeline. I do this by tapping media on the right-hand side of the screen and navigating to where the file is. Most recently edited folders appear first in the feed. I now need to remove all of the long silences in my footage and make the spoken aspect of my intro flow well. Because I record scripted content, I will have multiple takes of each line or paragraph in a continuous video. Between each take, I will reread the script for my next line, so I need to cut the silences and unwanted takes out with the cut and trim tool. I watch the footage back in app, and when I get to a sector in the timeline that I wish to cut, I highlight the clip by tapping or clicking on it. When you click on the clip, a button will appear over that side of the screen with a pair of scissors on it. Click on that. This will populate a few options, all of which are very useful in every edit. I tend to start with a simple split clip. The reason I do this is to mark the end of a sector of a clip that I want to keep and use in my final edit. I can then move to the beginning of the next sector that I want to use and use the trim function. This removes the unwanted section of the footage from the left or right of the playhead, essentially where the timeline is at that moment in time. Once done, I will watch the cut that I've just made back multiple times. I do this to ensure that the audio flows well. With the yellow handles at either end of the cuts that I've made, I can minutely adjust the start and end of the cuts to offer a better audio flow. What I am personally looking for is a conversational type flow to the audio. When I believe that I have achieved that, I will repeat this process until the entire clip is in a conversational flow and only the good takes remain. Once I am at this point, I will look at making the visuals of the intro a little more interesting. No matter how important, informative or engaging the content that you are delivering is, if the visuals don't pop, if people don't like what they are seeing, they will turn off from the video. This means I need to add things in to keep it interesting. This will involve utilising layers to add B-roll video, overlays, effects and images into my project. It will also involve pans and zooms, and sometimes inserting footage in a particular way, like I did when explaining the cut tool earlier. The first thing I want to do is go through and change focal lengths every so often. A simple thing like zooming into and out from the subject creates a much heightened sense of engagement. Because the visuals change, the viewer stays locked to the screen. It is a simple and useful technique that thankfully pays large dividends. To achieve this, I'll be utilising the cut tool once more, and then pairing that with the pan and zoom tool. For my intro, I'm going to change the focal length across the first two sentences. The content creation on the devices that I already own, and that is what I do on this channel. I want to start fairly zoomed in, like a close-up on my face. I've recorded this video in 4K resolution, so I won't lose much in terms of quality with a small zoom. But if I really want to bump up my quality, my phone can record 8K videos such as this section that you're seeing on screen now. That way, it is completely lossless in a 4K export. The reason I start close is to emphasize the content creation on my devices statement. That's what I want people to know this video is about within the first few seconds. By then zooming out to an open-armed view of myself, I'm then welcoming them into that video. To make this vision happen, I first cut the clip after the first sentence. Then, highlighting the new clip of that sentence, I tap or click the pan and zoom button, which looks like this. To achieve the zoom I want, I need to use 2 fingers on the touchscreen to zoom in. I've not yet figured out a way to do this with a mouse, so I'll pinch zoom it until I achieve the desired result. You'll notice in the right-hand panel that there are 2 pictures of the clip. At the top is the start point, and the bottom is the finishing point. Now I could happily leave the clip like this, and it would have the video pan out to the wide-armed welcome. Personally, on this occasion though, I want the zoom to be consistent across the sentence. To achieve this, I tap the equals sign between the start and finish points, and the app automatically adjusts the whole clip to the new focal length that I set as the start point. This can also be achieved by setting the end point, then hitting the equals button. I then need to do the same with the second sentence. I could use the raw footage here, No adjustments, just as it came out of the camera. And sometimes that is the correct approach for what I'm trying to achieve. But this approach can end up with a lot of dead space around me, the subject. I don't want that on this particular occasion, so I will zoom in slightly until the subject fills a good portion of the screen. Because these two clips roll immediately into one another, I'm not going to input a transition. Instead, I'll use the smash cut, where the focal length just jumps from one to the other. I then do this process across the rest of the video, zooming in for emphasis and out for more welcoming, informative approach. The intro talks about multiple things, including performing YouTube and internet searches about getting started in content creation. As you have already seen from the finished product, I show some of these things that I'm talking about on screen. These types of additions are called overlays. Essentially, any media placed into an edit over the base timeline edit. And Kinemaster brings many different options to the table for my editing. Most of the overlays that I utilize within the app are in the layer section in the wheel on the right. As you can see, there are 5 options available over here, and I use all 5 regularly. Media allows me to add overlays of video or pictures from my hard drive. This is great for adding B-roll footage. I can also use it for stills to emphasize a point or make a moment that bit cooler. With chroma keys and transparency scales, I can add green screen footage and add blend clips together. It's rather powerful and very versatile with a little bit of pre-planning. Effect is useful for many different options. Blurring is always helpful. Blaze can make lettering really pop. And the store has hundreds of additional options. If you're a premium subscriber, everything on the store is available to you. If you're not, there is still a wide and solid collection that you can download and use. Stickers are probably the worst named of the bunch because they are so much more than just a sticker. Do you want news subtitles across your screen? Well, that's a sticker. A YouTube call to action of like and subscribe, which would be lovely if you'd like to do that for me. That's a sticker. Speech bubbles, animated arrows, social media pop-ups, stickers cover so many aspects. Text and handwriting should be fairly self-explanatory, but just in case, text allows free typing of any overlay, and with the ability to add your own fonts, you can make this look really cool. Handwriting allows you to draw on the video to highlight certain sections or give yourself glasses and a mustache. All of these are highly useful aspects to add to a project. You can change their in and out animations with these 2 buttons, shown using the handwriting tool here, and you can use yellow handles to trim and adjust your overlays as required. Transitions are a very useful tool. I started using them because of my uncle. Due to him having had a brain tumour removed, lots of flashes and smash cuts make him pass out. Now, I didn't want to do that to him, and the situation made me more aware of disabilities triggered by visual stimuli. So I wanted to make my videos a tad more accessible for a few more people. Due to this, I use transitions. Be they pan change, fade through, crossfade, and more. I try to make them a mix and throw in some smash cuts to accommodate as many viewers as possible. To add a transition, you tap on the plus button between 2 clips. This will load the transitions menu in that right-hand sector. You'll have a small list of options initially, but as with many other aspects, more transitions can be obtained from the store. There are a bunch of free options, and the rest come with the premium subscription, as with every other aspect. When you click on an option, it shows you what that transition will look like, so you can decide if it fits that moment before you lock it in. However, you can still edit it after that lock-in by tapping on the double square between the 2 clips and choosing a new transition. Not every moment is going to need a transition, but those that do, Kinemaster has powerful tools for. My last thing to add to this intro is music. I like to have low-level music in the background. It fills in some of the silences, and with the music, has the content stay with the viewer long after they've finished watching it. Kinemaster comes with a suite of copyright-free music covering all sorts of genres, styles, and lengths. These are initially in the store, and you can access them as you have with different stickers, effects, and so on. There are some available for free, however all are available on the premium subscription. You can play the songs before downloading them to ensure they are the vibe that you want for your project. Then download them and add them in when you've found what you want. They will add, as other layers have, at the playhead's current position. I personally want the music to start immediately on this intro, so I'll skip to the beginning via a long press on the skip tool in the bottom left-hand corner. Adding music can be done from the Kinemaster copyright-free options, which is the default screen when selecting audio, or any other music on your hard drive or external storage. Once input, you can then mess around with the music so it fits your project. For me, this will mainly consist of overall volume levels, cutting and trimming, and volume envelopes. The volume envelope, for those who may not know, allows you to freely adjust the volume of a track at specific points. I personally use this to raise volume levels in title panels, for example, before lowering them again while I am talking. It also allows me to fade in and out of the music for certain moments in my project. In the intro to this video, I want to fade the music in. Have it a constant 7% of maximum volume across the entire introduction, and then have it fade out for the sting card to have full effect. To achieve this, I am first going to set the overall music volume level to 7%. This is done in the speaker button when the track is highlighted, the leftmost bar being the master volume. Using my finger, stylus or mouse, I can lower this to my desired level on the sliding scale. For more minute adjustments, I can tap or click above or below the volume slider to move its position by 1 for ultimate accuracy. I then want to sort out that fade in and out. Tap on the volume envelope button with the track highlighted, which is this rhomboid looking thing with a wavelength inside it. I want the fade in to take a total of 2 seconds, so I move the playhead to the 2-second point and then press the plus button. This states I want the volume at the max it will reach at this point. I then go back to the beginning and set the starting volume. This adds another point in my timeline with a lower volume level and then automatically adjusts the track in between those 2 points to achieve the desired effect. Because the overall volume is quite low, I don't need to drop the volume fully to achieve the fade-in effect. About 50% will do the job. I then repeat this at the end of the intro to fade the music out for my sting. The final thing I need to do is export the video. Now, normally this would come at the end of the entire project, but I'm going to show you here just so it actually makes it into the video. Once you're happy with your edit, I would recommend watching it in-app a couple of times. This way, if you notice something that doesn't pop, something that is an issue and can be changed, you can make those adjustments now. Once watched and happy with the final product, you go to the top right-hand side of the application and the button that looks like a square with an up arrow coming out of it. Click on that and it will take you to the export screen. You will then have 2 columns on this screen. One that dictates export resolution and one that dictates frame rate. I will personally set mine to 4K and 60 FPS. Once done, I press save and the project will start encoding. For this intro, the encoding process won't take too long, so you can press the button and forget about it. For a longer video, however, I tend to do a picture-in-picture thing to keep the screen on. I'll boot up YouTube and select a 10 hours of nothing video to have on while the video encodes. This keeps the screen on and prevents errors in the encoding process. Of course, you can adjust your display settings to achieve a similar effect. Once complete, your video is ready to watch and share. That's a very basic look at what Kinemaster actually is. As you saw from the sting and will be seeing from overlaid content above this roundup section, the app is capable of so much more if you put the time and effort in to learn its more advanced processes, just like any video editing app. I mean, it can use green screens like I do for this like, comment and subscribe bit down here, which you should be doing, by the way. And I will try and respond to any comments left on this video within the first week of it being live. I am scuppered if this goes off. It has clip graphics to really make a video stand out, manual animations so that you can create exactly what you want if there isn't something on the already existing catalogue, and so much more. Kinemaster also has downloadable projects, things that are ready-made for you as a starting platform or template for your project. Using the replace button when selecting media in these ready-made projects, you can input your own videos, images, sounds, and make them your own. Of course, everything that you see in these ready-made projects is possible to be made from scratch once you start to learn the more in-depth aspects of the application, which many of these projects will teach you. It can send projects and all of their media between devices wirelessly. It can export in 4K. It can import at up to 240 frames per second. You can even make it so that you can have a conversation with yourself or another character that you may be playing. It's so dang versatile. There is of course a cost with the version that I'm talking about. But even the free version has a lot of this versatility, and with a little ingenuity and the more advanced features that we've spoken about, it can offer results on the same level as the premium subscription. If you are paying though, it'll cost you £38 a year for that premium subscription. As a comparison, Premiere Pro, one of the main PC options and a counterpart to Kinemaster, is £20 a month. And DaVinci Resolve Studio, that's a $295 purchase. Kinemaster offers much the same for less, and all new features are always fully included in the price. You don't then need to fork out again when the application updates. Personally, I think Kinemaster is fantastic. It's updating, growing, and evolving at nearly the same rate as the hardware that makes the most use of it. A mobile phone. Yes, it has its shortcomings. No 8K export, no WebM compatibility, no HDR exports, nothing higher than 60 frames per second. They are all concerns, but they're also top-end concerns. Concerns of a select few, myself included. But when most content across YouTube is only just hitting 60 frames per second at 1080p, the fact that I can create videos with 4 times that resolution at the exact same frame rate, all from my phone in my pocket, that's still exceptional. I said it was the best mobile video editor in my thumbnail, and I stand by that comment. But I also truly believe it might be one of the best overall video editing applications on the market. So give it a go, and let me know how it turns out in the comments section below. In the meantime, I'd like to thank you all very much for tuning in. If you have enjoyed this video, maybe try this one about live streaming from your Android devices, whether screen capture or IRL. Thank you once again for tuning in. My name is Doragon. This is a beginner's guide to how to use Kinemaster video editing software. And until next time, have yourselves a fantastic day and take care.